Hello again, it's been a while. I'll be focusing on another game that I worked on called Void Crew, and this is a sneak peek behind the curtain of the music from Void Crew. And my general approach for the music for Void Crew was to match the visuals and the underlying themes from the whole game, which is ancient Egyptian style meets futuristic sci-fi. And in that sense, I wanted to mix many modern elements, synthesizers and drum machines and whatever, and then mix that with something that sounds super old and heavy and ominous and big and mighty and powerful. So like you should feel the weight of ancient armies and kingdoms while you are hearing a mix of futuristic sci-fi stuff, and that was a great challenge. I really enjoyed doing it. As soon as I kind of carved my way into that niche or that style, I really enjoyed making the soundtrack for this game. I enjoyed it just as much as doing Volume 2 of Deep Rock Galactic, and maybe even a bit more, I would say. And this soundtrack will be out later this year, so this is a precursor to more videos to come, hopefully. And if you feel like supporting me in the future, once the soundtrack is out, I'll leave a link and you can buy the soundtrack from the Steam store. You can also support me by donating money from the Buy Me a Pizza link in the description. And this specific track that I'm going to show you is for combat in the game, when you are fighting alien ships in the game. And throughout this track, or the soundtrack in general, I wanted to focus on the sense of space, like the universe around you being vast and black and echoey, kind of like a huge cave or being underwater or what have you. And then I also wanted to add some very strong tribal elements to get that big, mighty, old, ancient, powerful empire thing going on in the background. The whole basis of the track is pretty much just kick and bass. And for this track I went with a 90s house sound with lots of modern elements in it and also that big mighty sound on top of it. So the first thing in the track is kind of an intro sequence that has this filtered noise thing going on. Sounds like this. Moving in the stereo field and also frequency-wise. Sweeping up again to create tension until the actual track starts. And if we have a look here, then we can see the filtering going on. It's notching out a frequency and just going down and down and down. And doing the opposite here to create build-up. And this is with no effects applied at all. Just sounds like noise and nothing else. And then with the chorus applied, you get a nice stereo image modulation, and then with the actual filtering. And this was done to create space in the mix, but also to have that sci-fi feel. I don't want it to sound too old school or anything. And then the bass sounds mighty and powerful and simple, I think. It's like you can really feel the bite and the weight of, you know, a gigantic army or something coming at you. And I have some filtering on that as well. If the filtering is off, then it steals too much attention in the mix. This seems more ominous or a precursor thing because it's muffled. It builds more tension, I think. It sounds like it's behind something waiting to come out and get you. And this is also in the intro section, so it's more muffled there because it needs to explode or burst out. And I take the approach of doing something called sidechaining, where I take the audio signal of the kick drum and send it to the bass. And by using the kick drum as a trigger for some ducking, I can pump the bass sound up and down. Here, that's the pumpy sound. This is without. And by enabling that pumping, you also create space in the mix so the actual kick can be heard so it doesn't get masked or muffled by the bass itself. But it also creates a very driven sound or hectic sound. And here I have together all my Middle Eastern sounding things. Just different instruments or virtual instruments that I played and recorded, with some delay and reverb on. And then a slight poke in the upper frequencies to make it stand out in the mix. And that's it. Then I have this noise again that's being triggered, and it's just pulsing and creating a sense of urgency in the mix. There's a hi-hat on top as well that you can hear. And this is actually a banjo sped up that I played by hand. And then here you can hear it in its normal pitch. But it gives it that kind of saz, Middle Eastern instrument. It gives it that sitar or saz feel when you hear it with all the instruments. And I have this naughty little snare thing that leads up to the track actually beginning. It's just a great way of moving from one part of the track, the intro, into the actual track. And then I have these distorted synthesizer parts. It kind of offsets the tempo a bit, or the pulse in the track. And that's the Behringer Poly D via its own distortion, its built-in distortion. And then I have that simple chord progression. And that's played on the Behringer Poly D as well. And then I added some delay, so it would swirl into spacious eternity. And then I have this snare creeping in after a while in the track. A snare with lots of reverb on. And it builds up for the next section of the track. And this is just a part of the bass line that I just chopped up and looped and looped and looped and looped. And then we get to the section that I like the most in this track, which is the most crazy section. Lots of weird stuff going on here. It's going full trance acid trip right here. So that's all my Middle Eastern instruments reversed and then building up and then going forward again and then pitched down slowly. And then synthesizers being triggered and pitching down while I'm recording them. Just everything's dropping down slowly. It's just going deeper and deeper. And then it's going reverse, back up again, because it's building up for the next section again. And adding some reverb slowly, then it fading out the actual non-reverb part of the sound, so it's only reverb. Sounds like a huge engine revving up or something. The noise that we have from before, it's the exact same thing. And then we have the kicks here. I have 2 kicks. Good tribal energy right there, if you ask me. Then filtered noise again with delay on. And filtered noise again with delay. That goes out in the stereo field. And then more synthesizers just going down and down into eternal hell. You really get a sense of that mighty, big, mythological thing in the game. And I have this weird thing going on, which is Native Americans pitched up, because I wanted to add even more tribalness or chaotic elements in the mix. This is without. Then I have some weird trebly distorted drum sound thing going on to add to the chaos. And this is barely controlled anymore. This goes into complete chaotic stupidity. Filtered noise, reversed this time. Yeah, and more tribal drums going on, while things are just pitching up and down. Then it kind of thins out. I have this tambourine that I played, amazingly played by me. Then we kind of get back again to where we started. The whole track ends and then it simply loops. So yeah, I really enjoyed making this track. I think it's a banger personally. It's one of my favorites on the soundtrack. And in total, I produced about 80 plus minutes of music, so that's a lot for this game. And as mentioned earlier, if you feel like supporting me and you want to see more content like this in the future about the game, you can donate on the Buy Me a Pizza link in the description, or you could buy the soundtrack when it comes out on Steam, because I get a small cut from that. Plus, when you're buying the soundtrack, you support the development team as well, so that would be greatly appreciated. And all in all, I really enjoyed making the whole soundtrack and this track as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one.